welcome back. This is the Taffy Train reunion tour. These are my lovely players. Everybody make a noise.
Noise.
Interesting choices. But I did specify noise and nothing more specific than that. So, yeah.
So you have no one to blame but yourself.
Really, you do. I mean, I do. Who am I even talking to right now? Well, at the moment, I'm talking to the audience who are listening on YouTube, because if you have not listened/watched the first 4 games of the Taffy Train, I will link to that in the description, because you're going to get spoiled to peck, and you should definitely, not listen to this game before those. I'm just saying. You'll get very confused. And, if everybody's okay, I'm just going to crash in with the introduction, and then I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves and your characters, because it kind of...
Crash away!
Yeah, and we're a little bit late, but it's all good, and that's actually given me more time to get into a good headspace, so thank you very much, everybody. Okay! It has been 7 weeks since the events of the ill-fated Taffy Train's maiden voyage, and it shook the Toonkind continent to its core. Dora Z. Scale, formerly one of the most beloved real-kind humans in the nation, has murdered an innocent Toon called Victor Tim alongside exploderizing the extremely esteemed Train. And she is now a figurehead of anti-Toon sentiment. Her disappearance and consequent escape from justice caused a wave of unwelcome emotions among the ordinarily positive populace. Feelings of resentment, rage, fear, and suspicion. Businesses at home and abroad also suffered as the stocks in the famous Bakaja Enterprise empire fell for the first time in history, it having been the key financier for the Taffy Train and its multi-celebrity launch. What should have been a momentous celebration of good faith, renewed into national bonds and exciting technological advancement, crumbled almost overnight into broken promises and hasty judgments. But something sinister is at work. Instead of the typically elastic, Toonish approach of finding out what to do to solve and save the situation, both the people and the press have clamoured to find somebody to blame, almost as if someone has been suggesting that they should. Yes, everyone loves a villain to take the fall, and with the absence of Dora, the world sought out a more tangible scapegoat to vent their frustrations upon, and after having disappeared for the longest 48 hours of his life, the engineer took the spotlight. Having been blown up alongside the Taffy Train, the engineer had temporarily and involuntarily vanished from the world, while his adventure on the never-ending train, which is still a work in progress, time shenanigans. Yeah, this is like post a lot of stuff that hasn't even been played yet. That's going to be confusing for folks listening, but yeah, we move on. The events of the never-ending train actually only come to him now as a muddled and half-forgotten dream, so he can't even figure out what's going on. Alas, despite surviving the explosion, Dora's prediction of his destruction was proven all too correct, all too quickly. His career was in shreds within hours of his reappearance. Seeking both vengeance and escape from their own share of the blame, Screw-McCodger's expert lawyers took the engineer to court and within 1 week had laid waste to the director, taking his share of the ownership of Dodo Studios, his house, and basically any claim to financial dignity he had ever possessed. And yes, they even took his own beloved train, Willow. The papers had a field day, and while a few Starbot supporters shouted out against it, this vindictive wash of unkindness spilled further into the public unconscious. And as if to add insult to injury, a few weeks later, for the very first time in his long and successful career, the engineer did not win the annual Avian Film Festival. He couldn't even enter it. The studio refused to complete either of the 2 films he had created during the past year due to their content being insensitive in the current climate. After all, one featured a train set to explode, being rescued at the last minute, and the second couldn't even be aired, the footage having been recorded aboard the Taffy Train in its final hours. Neither were deemed suitable for public release, and in a somewhat uncharacteristic show of humility, the engineer wholeheartedly agreed. After this, the director appeared to vanish from the world a second time. But unlike his brief disappearance after the destruction of the Taffy Train cross-continental, a full 3 weeks have passed without any sign of his return. So, thank you for being quiet for so long. I'm sorry, that was big. That's where we're at. Most of the yeah, just to fill you in on where you guys are at before your introductions, most of the court proceedings took place in Toontown due to that being the location not only of the biggest courthouse in Nyquil, but it's also where Screamer Carger's property offices are based and the Dodo Studios. So that's where you are. During this whole event, the city, and indeed the whole continent, have been under a rather ominously unseasonal cold spell. Not that surprising when you consider most weather events in this Toonkind world abide to emotional atmosphere rather than meteorological phenomena, but yeah, it's snowy and cold, and it doesn't feel like the holiday season. It's just cold and miserable. So
So
on that
it's a
happy
pretty
note-
chilly reception.
Oh yes.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Yes. Okay, on that happy note, top to bottom, as tradition, if you can all introduce yourself, your character, and what they've been doing during this 7-week interlude.
Hi, I'm Kai. I'm playing Charlie, a worn bard, and also the fluffiest cat that can possibly be drawn, despite him not originally starting that way, but people keep drawing him increasingly fluffy, and who am I to stop them?
We love him.
Charlie has been he's been busy with his own things. For one thing, he did have like a heist that kind of went a little bit wrong and then a little bit good and then a bit more wrong and all of that sort of stuff, which you can listen to in another game when we get around to finishing it. In terms of like the court proceedings and what's been going on with the engineer, he's been doing his best to stay well out of it. He's been keeping an eye on things because he wants to know what's going on. But as a con artist, getting his face in the papers and in like any like newsreels or anything is a really bad idea for him. So he's been more or less in hiding.
Valid. Perfectly valid, especially, yes, given your character's character. Okay, and next on the list we have...
Owl.
Owl?
Oh, I thought you
Owl.
said Kai, even though Kai just went,
Nope. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Owl. Ear, no work, good. My character is, Shorts Kid, and Shorts Kid has had, the time of their life in the past in-game month. Like, first up, something that should have been normal and fun, a train with Train Dad, turned into, like, the worst nightmare, because not only did Train Dad, like, explode and the train, but, like, also, lady who was possibly nice was not nice, and their special, like, time-space magic isn't working the way it should, because, like, it's not. Inkwell is going wonky, and it is started affecting the space bars, which in turn is affecting Shorts Kid, who is also emotionally not doing great. So, like, the past 3 weeks have been an exercise in an 8-year-old trying to come to terms with, like, mortality. And also, like, having an emotional support snail.
Emotional support snail is very important. Just to clarify that, for those listening, yeah, there's these things called space bars that Shorts Kids has had and has been able to rely upon to rewind time, which is really an amazing ability. But because Anquil is sick, when they returned to get them off their spaceship, where are they staying? Anyway, their base.
Space bunker.
Space bunker. That sounds so much cooler. Or like perhaps you went to see DJ Moves to see if he had any, and they've gone all weird and grey and cold feeling, and yeah, they don't work. There is something very, very wrong with them. So yeah, you have permanence to deal with, and that's a lot. Oof.
It's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
You know when you're a kid and you're pretty sure everything is going to work out because life is just doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
Not happening to Shorts Kid right now.
Bad time all around. Snail, how about you?
Well, hey everybody, I'm Snail. I play the aforementioned Snailian, and Snailian has pretty much moved in with Shorts Kid because they are acting as a full-time emotional support animal. I mean alien. For Shorts Kid, and so that's like what they're mostly doing. They have very regularly used up a spell slot to call on Gregory for like not writing but like emotional support, and I have the feeling if they grabbed Charlie's number they do call him somewhat frequently, again not to pull him into anything, literally just to ask, how do I help a traumatized child
That's okay.
handle mortality?
Charlie is definitely equipped to help with that. So yes, yeah, if you like, you would have gotten his number, and he would definitely be there to help if you needed him.
They've also, it's interesting because the press hasn't ever seemed to grab them at all. They haven't been in the papers, and yet they quite regularly go to the library. It seems like some of the things that they're doing is like reading up on classic gags, just like how-tos, because they're not gonna pull another flub of the good cop, bad cop routine. I mean, they might a little bit because they're still an alien, but they're trying very hard to learn how to do it toony.
Bless Snailene, you're so hung up on that. I feel terrible.
I promise, as a player, I am no longer hung up about it. It's purely Snailian.
Okay, if it's in character.
Snailian also like felt the need to greet individually every person aboard the Taffy train, so I'm not surprised by this character tick.
Also, they do remember that, just saying. And finally, we have our pièce de résistance, Uni.
Hi, I'm Uni. I'm playing Larry Samuel. He is the straight man of Einquell. He is intensely neutral with all his emotions and all his reactions. In the last few weeks, he's been not up to anything particularly special. You know, traveling, performing to get some money, not being very good at it. He did kind of get roped into testifying on the engineer's behalf. Kind of would have gotten out of it, except then he realized literally no one else showed up to help. So it was kind of up to him.
Oh, Larry. There is someone who's going to definitely have taken note of that. Actually, quite a lot of people, so I'm writing that down. Okay, alright, so that's how we are, that's where we are. And it is a cold night on the northern side of Toontown. There is a touch of snow smearing the air above the famous Mr. Zippy River, and the street lights are casting a weak amber light through this cloying darkness, and a distant clock strikes 9 o'clock, the dolorous sound muffled by the heavy white precipitation. It is late, it is cold, but you are together. Why are you out on this chilly evening? You're all together, you may be heading somewhere, like, have you had a meal together?
Yeah, probably.
What did you have?
I can imagine things may have started with, do correct me if I'm wrong, Al, but maybe started with Shorts Kid not having a good time, Snailian panicking, Charlie getting roped in, Charlie roping Larry in, and then we're all out in the evening.
That sounds very legit.
that sounds legit.
I was literally going to suggest that because Snailian is like, it's been like degrees of like as like literally on the week as each week has passed and Shorts Kid has not rebounded. Snailian's been getting slightly more worried and now they're like substantially worried because like they've been to the library. They've also been reading up on this trauma thing and like so they're now at the point of like help.
That's all totally valid. Also, I forgot to mention this, but I would have given you one for that anyway, Kai. But because it was Kai's birthday this week, hooray! Happy birthday to them. Kai gets an obligatory inspiration point from the off, because that's how I'm doing this.
Thank you. Do I get an inspiration point for having my birthday this week? Or last week?
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. It's been very, very recent. Yeah. We have more birthday points. Anybody else want to claim to having a birthday? And I won't check it, so I would probably say yes.
My birthday was last month, so you
Mine's
already
in
gave
August,
me a
ma'am.
very pretty drawing for it.
Oh.
Everybody's birthday is this month.
I almost feel like I should give you all inspiration points because of the hammering I gave you emotionally last time. But the thing is, Larry, you're so dependently funny, you're going to end up with an inspiration point within the next 10 minutes, I swear. Same to you, Snail. So, like, it's alright. You'll catch up in no time. Oh,
Yeah, no worries.
yeah. It'll feel even sweeter because you've earned it. And, so you're out, you've had... What did you have? Like, were you have a pizza, burgers? What was the flavour of the evening?
Can I suggest that we all actually went to see Cuisine Kit?
Great idea! There you go. Bam! Immediately great idea. Is it inspiration point worthy? Yeah, sure. Have one. I'm gonna like give Larry one for the first thing he says. Actually, no, wait! Larry showed up to defend the engineer in court. Inspiration point. There you go.
That's funny.
We're all starting out good.
And you get an inspiration point.
And you get an inspiration point.
I feel like everyone getting one kind of defeats the point of the birthday inspiration point, but at the same time, this is a fucking delight and everyone deserves one anyways.
I tell you what, like, Kai, because your birthday was so recent,
No,
and
it's okay.
I could not do anything to draw for you.
No,
I'm really
it's
sorry
okay.
about that.
It's-
No,
it's
wait,
okay.
shit, zip! I'm the DM. I'm telling you what to do. Your birthday inspiration point, like, comes with, you know, absolute control on flavor, and also because you're a DM, I know that you will, like, abide to the rules, but also make it juicy. So, like, yeah.
Oh dear.
You
I
have
have too much power here.
Yeah, you do. But, like, I owe
Those
you.
juicy rolls.
I owe you that for all the times you've helped me, like, figuring out, like, Discord and recording technology as well. So, like, this is like a multiple payback situation. Okay. Yeah, you've gone to see Quizzing Kit, and you had a lovely time. She was delighted to see you all. She was, like, likewise, she saw you in court, Larry, so she's really best buds with you guys. Catched up on the gossip and, like, told you how Professor Woodleg is doing. Oh, the owl lesbians are both fine. Maisie made a complete recovery because, you know, there's clerics abounding, and she's back to bossing Daisy around, so it's all good. But yeah, even so, like, this, obviously they're all going through it a bit, and she had no idea where the engineer was if you asked her. And so you've come out, you're presumably heading back to your places, and a sudden blast of wind compels you to turn to face a bridge that spans the Mississippi River, but in doing so, you see a silhouette that you hadn't noticed before. It's easy enough to miss in this darkness, but leaning against the bridge's ice-laden metal, there is a short, familiar figure with a saw-blade mouth, a high-collared coat, and a distinctive square-roofed, long-brimmed hat. What do you do?
I tackle him.
Okay. You rugby tackle. Shortskid just, like, barrels towards this silhouette without, like, saying anything or confirming anything, and you rugby tackle something that, like, looks like this. And it's definitely not anybody that you ever known. You like, this is a complete stranger. You completely do not recognize this individual. Okay.
Oh, man!
Who is this stranger? What can be done about this? He just makes a sort of oof sound because he's been taken completely by surprise.
The googly eyes kill me.
I think that Snailian is on Charlie's head just to establish where they are, and they're gonna make a perception check.
That's a
Is
very
that what
good
you do
idea.
to, like, figure out if somebody's disguised, right?
Possible. I mean, like, who knows who this mysterious individual could be?
It's so strange. They almost feel familiar.
A 15.
How's a 15 go?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it does, because, like, you know this guy well enough. And googly eyes aside, like, one of them has come slightly adrift from the impact. And he like, you can tell, like, he hesitates on, like, whether to let the act go on, like, to try and deny the fact that it's him. But he's like, oh, alright, fine. Hello, well, I cannot deny, it's a surprise to see you. He's currently lying on the floor. Yes, the engineer is prone. He pulls off the other disguise kit googly eye and stands up and brushes the snow off whilst giving Shortskid a restrained pat on the head. Like, you know, you would have maybe expected a big warm hug, but apparently there's some
No restraint, only
And,
cling.
now that you look at him perhaps a little more clearly, the rest of you, even if someone is clinging to him like Velcro, he does look a little bit different. Yeah, the last time you saw him, he was full of energy and he had a moleskin textured coat and he was dapper and sleek. He's wearing exactly the same clothes as back then, but they're disheveled, torn at the edges. There's even a couple of those staple, roughly sewn-on patches that appear whenever a toon is severely down on their luck, you know, whether or not the clothes need it. He does, however, have a nice new scarf, which is pink. His feathers are desaturated and frayed, not grey, but they are certainly sepia, and even though he's, you know, he's got a worn smile, but he looks like he is actually, like, trying to smile, and he is actually happy to see you. So he's not, like, at the bottom, which, trust me, he has been. But any which way you put it, he looks pretty terrible.
Charlie's gonna come over and kind of probably help dust him off a little bit after he lands in the snow and everything. And it's like, good to see you still alive, but what happened to you, mate?
Have you not been reading the papers? I'm surprised at you, Charlie. I thought you were fairly keen on that sort of thing. And he's trying to, like, get back to the sort of witty digging repartee with him, but yeah, he's not quite into it. And like, he actually, like, gives you a pat on the arm because he's actually really happy to see all of you.
Can Shorts Kid pull out a newspaper clipping?
Yeah, sure. What, do you want me to sign it for you?
No, just Shorts Kid reaches into their pocket and pulls out, like, a handful of, like, crumpled, it looks like, you know when you have a receipt and you shove it to the bottom of your pocket?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She pulls, like, they pull those out and then shove them into oh my god.
Charlie?
She pulls them out and shoves them into Charlie's hand and then continues clinging.
Aww.
Charlie kind of just looks at him for a second, goes like, "Oh yeah, I know. I've been keeping up with the papers, mate, but like, can't exactly read about you when you've just been acting like a ghost lately."
Can you blame me for wanting to disappear? Have you? I mean, well, anyway, enough about me. I think there's been plenty enough about me, and he gives those pieces of paper a side eye, even though he doesn't have any. And he looks up at Larry. He's like, "Thank you for what you did in court. I do appreciate that."
Yeah, don't mention it.
How about you? How have you been doing on the music scene?
Oh, terrible, but that's to be expected. People aren't really interested in the truth.
Yes, that seems to be a trend. Although there's one reporter, and he brings out a little scrap of paper out of his pocket, and he says, "Well," then shoves it back in his pocket. "Maybe another time. I was about to. Well, I'm glad to see you all. Oh, and Sneelian, hello. I could not be more thankful for you and your splendid dragon friend." And he's giving you a sort of a, you know, the old Machiavellian trying to get, like, a deal smile, but even then it's like a little, he's like, "I don't suppose, because you see, I was just, in the morning I was going to take the coach up to, well, as north as it'll take me for 5 gold coins. He literally has 5 gold coins in his pocket, and that is it, folks. But it strikes me that a dragon could probably get to the Independent Isles by itself. I don't suppose you'd be interested in paying that a visit."
I could certainly try. The thing is that it only lasts for an hour, so I don't know if that would get you all the way. But I could then use another spell slot and bring it back. But I would have to, like, tell Gregory at the beginning, because, like, he doesn't like it if I summon him multiple times without warning him the first time. You know how it is. Like, who wants to be pulled away from their stuff twice? So I could definitely talk with him and see if there's a time that we could like work together and do that.
Oh, it's alright. I think I was a bit out of line even asking you, and he looks a bit abashed, and you know, even though he's like, he's gone through some stuff, you can tell, but apparently he's had some time to think about himself and his approaches to particularly hiring people, maybe? Anyway, that's a whole thing. And yeah, he's like, it's fine. Anyway, I am glad to have the opportunity to at least say goodbye to you.
Goodbye?
Well, I mean, he gestures at the city, which is sort of lit up. Like, it's usually more lit up than this. There's usually more of the yellow post-it note lights in these little town windows at this time of night, but it feels darker than usual. Like, people have just given up and gone to bed much sooner than they would otherwise. Like, is there any point in me? I haven't got any money. No one wants to see my films anymore. I've never had the intention of retiring this early, but I just... And my family are up there, and, you know, they've been through it and all with the press. I've had it.
Mate, if you... No, can't get you far, but if you need a loan, I can hook you up. Ain't got much, but if you need something.
Yeah, well, nah, I've taken enough from all of yous already. And yeah, he scratches the back of his head. He's like, I wish there was something I could offer you as thanks for what you have done, but if I could only make one more film, I wish I could, but like, I don't think wishes come true in Anquil anymore. And he looks up, and you can't even see the stars for there to be a shooting star, which there probably would have been on another happier evening.
Well,
I know what I want.
Oh, aye? Well, you've never been backwards at coming forwards. What is it that you want?
I want you not to go.
Okay. You want to make a perception check there, Shorts Kid?
Sure. Hold on, I need to actually, like, there are so many people in the chat that I'm trying to keep track of who's talking, and, like, oh my gosh. There's a lot of it.
Yeah, this is why I have to log out of the chat, because my brain can't do talking and reading at the same time. It's way too much.
Did you say perception?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Maybe insight?
Or
because
insight.
That's like a...
Yeah, actually,
Is
insight
it?
is probably better. It could be
Yeah,
either.
I get a +3 to insight.
You do. 13. It's not brilliant, but you definitely hear a repeat of that crack inside him that you heard the first time you met him and said something similarly heartbreaking. But it sounds like there's not much left in there to break, like it's all pretty shattered already. Like, you know, if you picked this guy up and shook him up and down, you'd probably hear, like, broken glass out the wazoo. He looks like he's desperately trying to come up with a reason to argue against you, but he also can't, like, deny that he wants to stay. But, like... Yeah, he can't actually reply. I think you guys are gonna have to do a bit of work on this guy.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, don't
Well-
say that. I'll cry and I don't have any eyes. And yeah, he is actually giving you a hug now.
No, you were in the train, and I tried, and Short's kid can't really talk anymore, and instead just kind of burrows their face into into Train Dad's jacket, and if he is feeling particularly perceptive, he will feel tiny, like some tears, a little wetness.
Yeah, he's on his knees now. He's just like collapsed. And yeah, you just kind of you feel like you've hugged him before, and he is not warm.
Larry is sort of looking up at the cloudy, snowy skies, and he goes, "Oh, your road trip movies are popular."
It's not just... Oh, golly, you do give lovely hugs, Lassie. I mean... And yeah, he's really trying. Like, you can hear his throat is, like, closed up. He is having literal physical trouble speaking because he's so moved. He's like, maybe I could try again, but I haven't got a jot of money. And more than that, my usual sort of film just isn't going to cut it. I mean, exploding trains and murder are the last thing people want to see right now, myself included, to be honest. And he laughs at his own expense, and is just really, really kind of, wishing he could give Shortskid a promise to take care of them, but he is not in a financial position to do so right now.
Charlie, can you lean over just a bit? Snailian, like, if Charlie complies, very gently readjusts the engineer's hat, which has gotten a little askew, and they say, well, have you considered maybe working with other people's movies to, like, because this wasn't actually your fault. I know that the papers are all lying, except some of them are not, but then that only seems to make the hubbub worse, and it's very confusing. But you, it was actually Dora. She was the one who murdered a person and murdered a train, murdered 2 people, really, because the train was alive. But if you work with other people just a little bit, people will see again. Truth comes out when after time, and like it's easy to lie in a second, but it can't last. Lies don't last because the truth is what happened.
You as Snailian gives this amazing speech. Oh my god, Snailian is so good at these motivational speeches, or lambasting ones, as was last time. That was amazing. Still love that.
Snardic inspiration.
That was so yes, Snardic inspiration. You see like a little bit of colour come back to the engineer, and he really is like there's a fight going on inside him, because he's really like trying to persuade himself that he's got absolutely no right to even try again, but he really wants to, and he's on the verge of accepting some sort of input, but like again, he needs a little bit of a push. So I'm gonna say Charlie or Larry, you want to go at this?
All right, Larry, did you have anything? Because I do have something, because Charlie actually has a whole heap of money saved up from all his other adventures that I have not gotten around to spending. But Larry, if you had anything else, go ahead.
I mean, you keep saying, oh, I can't make the same movies as before. Don't make the same movies as before then. Something different.
Oh,
You're a different guy now.
Yeah,
You can do something new.
Literally, as you say that, like with every single word Larry just said, like he incrementally gets a little bit brighter, and in fact, like you look at the snow around his knees, and it has actually started to melt a little bit, and his ears are pointing up. Like he is really listening to you, Larry. And Charlie,
worth it to try something else.
Mm-hmm.
All right. As Charlie's kind of watching him perk up and everything, he kind of like digs into one of his pockets, and then just pulls out a sack of coins and just kind of dumps it in the engineer's lap. And there's around 50 gold in there, probably a little bit less just from like day-to-day spending, and just kind of dumps in there and go like, call it an investment. Got more at home if you need it, but you know, it's a start if you want to make something new.
His jaw just drops open. Like, this guy is like a fairly big celebrity director. You would have expected he was more used to seeing amounts of money like exceeding this, but like that's more money than he's had available to him immediately in a lot of years. And he's like, what are you people? And like he looks delighted but also kind of shocked. He's like, well, for a start, you, and he gets up. And Charlie's pointing at you and says, never put your own movie, your own money, in the film. You would not cut it as a producer, but I am extremely grateful for that. Larry,
oh, don't worry, my boyfriend's gonna kill me for it later.
Oh, well, you'll have to tell me about him later. Invite him over for dinner. But Larry, you are a sage. You are a sage, and I really do need to step out of my comfort zone. Not that I've been in it for the past 7 weeks. Snailian, I think you would like probably do well on the governmental committee. I think you've got a calling somewhere in that, and you know what? This, would you? No. And he's really starting to think now, and he's like, no. What this world needs right now is a story. It needs a story. I can't run away from that, can I? That's actually what I'm supposed to do, isn't it? What this world needs is a story about what's really important. Like you. Faith, trust, open-mindedness, open-heartedness, patience, courage. You all represent that, and this world needs a film about unconditional platonic love. And as the engineer paces up and down, you can practically hear the cogs turning and the pistons firing as his brain begins to tick. And I have to say, like, the engineer, if you'd done a medical check, was suffering from exhaustion. He's not anymore. You fixed him. Congratulations. And, like, yeah, he's back, baby. And he's, like, rubbing his hands together. We need a story about helping those who are in need against the odds, finding purpose and support and other people. And it's gotta be full of altruism. Aye, a real tearjerker. Oh, it'll have action and drama. Oh, and comedy too. We need a bit of a laugh right now. But through and through, it's got to be about the heart. I need to make a movie about family. And he takes his hat off and holds it in front of his chest in a plea, like a respectful plea to all of you. And despite this vulnerable gesture, you are struck by how grimly determined and serious he looks. I cannot promise I'll succeed. I'm not even sure I'll be able to turn a profit to pay you back, but will you help me, please?
Yes.
Whoa, that was fast.
Snailian says yes, and they're waving their little nubbins right at their hips, sides. It's like that when you're trying to not wave your hands around, so you're just like wiggling them at your sides. Snailian is so ready to help train Dad.
Yay! Anybody else want in on this heartwarming scene?
Already given you 50 gold.
That's true.
I'm in.
All this time you've been describing how Train Dad has been like moving, getting about, emoting. I would like to just posit the gag that I said Short's kid was clinging.
Mm-hmm.
Short's kid was clinging the whole time and is still holding on. You are going to have to roll something to get out of Short's kid's grapple.
He's not gonna. Oh, that's wonderful. I'll take that as a yes from you. Good grief, you've got strong arms for a wee thing.
Larry just sort of looks at the group and goes, I got nothing else going on.
Yeah! We're all together again! and Snailian clamps their hands over their mouth, but over their helmet because they're just so happy. Everything has been dark and grim and hard and traumatic for weeks, and now everybody's just feeling that little bit better, and Snailian can't even take it.
At that amazing laugh, the engineer roars with laughter, and you know, there is something very train-like about this, because you're in the cold and there's this smoke and steam coming up from around his feet where he's been marching up and down and out of his mouth, and you feel like maybe a little part of the Taffy train is still alive, and he says, Alright, let's make a movie. Alright, picture this. The premise is a homeless tramp, he points to himself, rather modestly, who comes across an adorable wee orphan living on the streets, he points to Short's kid, and the two adopt each other. The vagrant tries lots of ways to get enough money to look after the kid, and you can tell he sort of nearly said adopt, but he had to keep away from that because he can't make promises that he can't keep. And this kid who's always trying to help him with these odd jobs and to escape when they inevitably go wrong. And he's got to escape from a grumpy deadpan policeman, and he gestures affectionately at Larry. I reckon that's a good pitch to start with. I'll see if I can call in a favour and get hold of a typewriter to figure out the rest. As for you lot, number one, get a camera. So I'm going to split all of these like how to make a movie tasks into parts, and the first roll is going to be Charlie. I need you to roll luck to search for parts, and I think, you know, you could argue that you might have even advantage with your connections. So yeah, you have to find bits and pieces that you can put together, and if you want, you can spend some of your 50 gold.
Okay. Well, like, again, no, that was 50 gold that I just gave straight up to the
Believe you
engineer,
did-
but...
I was not expecting that at all.
Again, Charlie has had, like, over 300 gold just sitting in his inventory for ages now. I just have not had anything to spend it on, so this is a good excuse.
Excellent. Also, y'all
so
don't
when you
know
say-
how rich Alibi is right now. The guy is loaded. Anyway, carry on, Charlie.
Say that out loud. He might get robbed.
Oh, it's possible.
Alright, so when you say a luck roll, just like straight d20?
No, because you've established that he's a lucky character, so you get a +3.
Hell yeah. And you already said with advantage, so let's see if that turns up
Yeah,
anything
that's
good.
a 14 already, not bad.
That's a 17.
17, that's really good. Okay, yeah, you not only like get enough bits and pieces to put again together one camera, you get enough for 3 for a 17, and you have enough for a mic. So, you know, if you'd rolled really badly twice, you would have had one camera and no sound, which is fine. He can do a silent. He's done many of those. But yeah, you actually get 3 functioning cameras and a good sort of boom mic put, or at least the pieces of it, because the next roll we have to do is Snalian. You need to roll intelligence to help the engineer put these things together.
Okay.
And again, if you really want, you can have advantage because you like have proven that you know about this sort of technology. Also, you have the engineer like there helping you to put this together.
I think I
Also-
will. Sorry.
Brain cell.
Yes.
That's for a specific purpose, but I am holding it, not using it. So I will take that.
What?
That's a dirty 20, so I might actually not need to take that advantage. I'll just give the good luck to whoever's rolling next.
Yeah, sure, pass that luck on if you like. And yeah, the engineer is very impressed with the progress that you're making. And it's quite funny because, you know, he's going between typing up the script and fixing, like, he's basically typing with one hand and helping you with the other. And while you're doing this, the engineer sort of remembers something. He's like, oh, that's right. The lads from the police, I've had quite a lot of conversations with the Metropolitan Upholders of the Peace. And he puts his hand in his pocket. He said, well, you remember you crashed into their station, all forgiven and forgotten, I would like to point out. They found something that we think probably belongs to you because none of us know what the heck this thing is. And, I mean, here you go. And he hands you what looks like a little rubber fish. And I'm going to say that you recognize this because this did come from your spaceship when it crashed. This is the Babel fish. This rubber fish with a suction cup mouth can be applied to a space helmet or directly into your ear and used once per long rest to translate any language and allow the user to speak it. And that is yours forever.
They were supposed to take it because like they had to remake the building, so that's why they took all of this stuff that they're giving me back in.
Oh, well, and he's scratching the side of his face. Yeah, I might have mentioned 1 or 2 things about you, and they might have mentioned 1 or 2 things about you, and, you know, on the whole, a favour is a favour, and we think you are going to get more use out of that than they are.
Beat trains, do crime.
So it's once per long rest, translate any language.
Any language, and you can speak it as well. So yeah, that's like a free language slot, basically.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Just gotta stick it in your ear.
Yep.
I want to be clear, Snalian does stick it on their helmet, but they stick it on the inside of their helmet rather than the outside. So this is just a little fish buddy. And like, they have absolutely named it. Give me a couple seconds to figure out what they named it so everybody else continue doing your thing, but they have absolutely named this guy, and they're like a little bit teary that they get their buddy back because they consider everything their buddy.
Considering that the dragon is named Gregory, I feel like we should end up calling the helmet fish something like similarly mundane.
You say Gregory's a
if we wanna both
mundane
eat
name.
more. Call it Wirt.
Okay, so while Charlie and Snalian and the engineer are like doing all this, Larry and Shortskid, you're off on a sort of group outing together. And Larry, this is partly because you are going to be in charge of music as well as being the comic relief policeman in the movie. And you need to find a way to make and record some music. And you also need just generally more hands on deck for background characters and film crew. So you and Shortskid, because Shortskid is good at talking to people, you're off to Dodo Studios. And the engineer hasn't specified that you have to talk to DJ Moves, but you can talk to people there. So, you're approaching the Dodo Studios, and I would like you to make a perception check.
Okay. Oh. And
That's a 10. Yep. A 13. Alright, so you're not being too observant. Perhaps you're just very excited or maybe, like, a little anxious about this. Like, I mean, Larry, you've done gigs, but I don't suppose you've done a movie soundtrack before. Like, you're gonna do the whole soundtrack, dude. How are you feeling about that?
that's definitely a bigger task than he's used to. So yeah, he feels a little out of his comfort zone, and no, you couldn't probably tell by looking at him, but he is sort of nervous about it.
Oh, baby. And likewise, Shortskid, how do you feel right now? Like, a lot has happened.
Shortskid is like everything else in their life when it gets a little too stressful to deal with, pretending that everything is fine. Just dog on fire meme. Because like Shortskid has like two ways to deal with trauma. One is being really sad and quiet about it because they don't know how to process it, and the other is to not process it.
Yeah.
So Shortskid is just like holding Larry's hand as they drag him through the into the studio, maybe a little bit too tightly. Like this kid has like a -1 to strength, but you would not guess it, but by like their grip right now. And there's an odd thing about Shortskid. Their eyes, the sclera, the white part, have been galaxy colored for the past 2 weeks, I want to say. Like the first week, normal color, but then eventually something just kind of snapped, and now they've been galaxy colored. They've also started wearing knee pads, elbow pads, keeping closer tabs on their friends. It seems like this kid, who previously didn't really like think too much about like staying safe or what would happen if other people weren't safe, is now almost kind of obsessed with it as a way to like cope with the fact that like saw like their friends all be in mortal peril, and also their drain dad literally like explode.
Yeah, that tallies. And yeah, I'm really sorry because that sounds cool and traumatic and baby and galaxy eyes, awesome. But also I'm now here with like Shortskid doing the radical skateboarding safety videos with like, you know, wear knee pads. It's cooler than not having your kneecaps. Anyway, so yeah, you approach.
Safety is the raddest thing of all.
That's exactly it. And then Larry does a sting on his electric guitar. Anyway, we're getting off track again. But yeah, you approach Dodo Studios. You're not feeling too observant. However, even with a 10 and a 13, you notice the atmosphere at the very least, because like this place is usually buzzing. Even if, you know, Larry, you may never have ever been here before, but you know, it's a movie studio, dude. Everyone is a moving and a shaking. I am going to put that nothing in life matters into the video. God damn it, Al. Anyway, it's
that is the
still
perfect
love that.
like combo of Shortskid and Larry's.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Optimistic nihilism for the win. Yeah, so you go into the studio and it doesn't feel like a movie studio. There's, like, even though the engineer isn't working there anymore, he doesn't even own, like, the place anymore. Like, there's still a bunch of owls kicking around, like, you feel like they're waiting for him to show up, like, hoping he'll show up, and, like, somehow, like, a miracle will happen. They'll all be being shouted at to get back in their places and start filming straight away, or you'll kill them all. But yeah, there's like someone playing a mouth organ in the corner. It's like super bummed out prison feeling. And yeah, even the penguins, who are like supposedly working on a movie, are dragging their feet, and the music you can hear isn't as iconically poppy as usual. It's like, yeah, everything kind of sucks. So you're at the studio and you need to, yeah, find equipment and like maybe like hire a recording sound booth, and you need to, like, if you can, persuade some of these kicking around out of work workers to come and help you.
Y'all need
I'm
a job.
back.
Actually, that's true, because as soon as you've like walked in the door, like some people looked up expectantly and then are disappointed because it's not the engineer, but then they do a double take because it's you two, and like, yeah, like, you fairly quickly get not all of them, but you get a crowd around you, and they're all like wishing you well and hoping you're okay and asking if you're okay, and then asking, have you seen the engineer?
Hey, Debbie. Yeah. He's
Seems someone who looks a lot like him.
There's a sort of confusion at that response, like there's a sort of hopeful and then a what?
Shorts kid squeezes Larry's hand and then says, "It's okay. They're all on the up and up. Like, they're all good. 'Cause Debbie helped me with my my thought wall when I was trying to find Train Dad, and then we got Georgie and Tilly, and they're all good. They're good, and they were on the train too. So, and Shorts kid just kind of like shakes themselves to like get out of it, and then heads a little closer to one of the aforementioned owls and says, "Do you know where DJ Moves is? Because like we gotta ask about something that I think he'd be like really interested in, because like he said if there was anything like that he could do to help with Train Dad, like, and I have something he can help with, so like, yeah."
The owls,
and then
the owls look at each other and sort of do the, are you sure you wanna, okay, and yeah, they start leading you off towards where you probably remember GJ Moves' office is, and yeah, again, they're kind of confused, like they want to like understand and believe that the engineer is like working with you guys or something, but they can't actually like get a read on what's happening. However, you now have like a train of owls and penguins following you.
So this is how you get through the studio. I mean, there's a little bit of jumping involved because like there's a surprising amount of pits in here, but like everything's pretty close together, so like it's not hard to get around. Usually I go through the air vents to get into the main rooms, but like recently they've been leaving the doors open, which is really nice. And it's weird, but it's nice. And well, if you look around on the left of the studio is the left door leads to and Shorts Kid goes on explaining how the studio is like set up. I'm leaving the rest to you to like. I'm not gonna describe your map for you.
Yeah,
And,
I was about to say it's okay because
yeah,
like
Shorts Kid
I'm just gonna
just-
like. I'm gonna fast forward you because, like, yeah, Larry, you get the Shorts Kid tour of the studio, which is a lot more winding, jumpy, and death-defying than it needs to be, because, you know, there are, like, normal walkways that, like, the staff are allowed on, and, you know, Shorts Kid is, like, bouncing.
Larry's glad they're allowed in through the door because he's a pretty athletic guy. He's also much, much larger than Shorts Kid. So
I can kind of just see Larry I can just see Larry and, like, the owls and everybody else, like, walking the normal way, while Short's kid is giving this verbal tour of what they're doing, which is, like, trying to avoid all of the normal places that you walk. But, you know, they're a kid, and that's actually how kids behave. So it tracks. Anyway, eventually you find DJ Moose's office, and they kind of, like, the crowd that has gathered around you, who has increasingly understood that there might be, like, some sign of the engineer, and they may even, like, there might be a project happening. There's a lot of whispering happening behind you. And yeah, they're not going anywhere near the office, though. They've kind of abandoned you near the door.
Fair enough. On the door.
Yeah, there's a sort of pause and then a sort of, come in.
Short's kid just pushes open the door and walks in and then straight up jumps onto the desk.
Oh, it's you, darling. And, yeah, DJ Moves looks sad. That's, like, the only way to summarize this, because he doesn't usually look sad. You've never seen this guy looking so sad. Like, even his afro is kind of droopy. And, yeah, he's not composing music. He's just kind of idly pushing up and down one of the audio equipment sliders. Like, he's not even working on anything. Like, you've never seen him not working on something.
What's up?
Hello.
Nothing but the ceiling, baby. What's happening, kids? What can I do for you?
Short's kid climbs on over and then just kind of you know how, like, just slap hands on either side of the penguin's face and says, I got something I think you're really gonna be interested in.
The sunglasses sort of comically slide down his beak slightly, and he's like, I really hope that it's something impressive, because it's gonna take an awful lot to cheer me up. Also, Larry, you may be interested to note that in this little sort of, it's like a sound booth, mixtape, DJ desk, and an office, but there is a shiny golden award of the Avian Film Awards sort of description, and it's like, it's on a shelf, but it's kind of pushed to one side. It's not like in a prominent position, it's kind of like, eh.
Congrats.
He actually doesn't say anything to that.
Yeah, that's about what Larry expected.
Anyway, yes?
How would you like to help make a movie?
He looks completely nonplussed. He says, darling, I've been making movies for 40 years.
No, help make a movie.
Help make a movie? And you
Yeah.
see the 1 + 2 = 3 equation, like, appear above his head in, like, floaty thought bubbles, and then they all pop, and he's like, he sits up a bit, and he's like, are you saying what I believe you are saying?
And then there's that little diabolical Shorts kid grin, and they lean back and just kind of sit on the sound mixing table, which can't be good for it, swinging their legs back and forth, and they're like, I might be saying what you think I'm saying if you're listening.
Persuade me. And literally, what you two are gonna have to do is roll persuasion, because even though he is interested now, you still have to persuade him.
Larry's strong suit, certainly.
You can do whatever you like to persuade. Like, you could intimidate him if you want, Larry, but, like, another thing that Larry, you specifically could do is perform, and if he likes your music, that would be a big plus.
Damn it.
9 ain't gonna do it. He's heard it all before. Sorry, darling, that pitch is very old hat, and I'm the oldest hat of all. What about your tall, dark, handsome stranger?
Well, let me set the scene for you. There's this bird has run out of motivation, and he strikes a dramatic chord on his banjo.
Yes!
And he basically spins the tale of the lonely, miserable bird down on his luck, run out of ideas, but from nowhere comes the band of inspirational strangers who band together and make a plan. But all they need to get this done is a little more help from strangers who have become their friends.
Ah! This is very good. You roll whatever you want, but I will say with something as strong as that, you get advantage for sure.
Okay. His performance is still +0.
Well, that's it. Like, you can
So-
either do performance or persuasion. I think that would be fine with
both,
either.
they're both +0, so it doesn't matter.
It's up to you. Like, in your heart,
wait, I have
choose.
inspiration. I have inspiration.
You do, but you can roll first and see if you need it.
Yeah.
Oh, a 2,
Yeah,
you
that
might
doesn't-
need it.
That didn't help.
A 1! Are you
Yeah,
joking?
I'm gonna use that
Holy
inspiration. That's a 2 and a
crap.
1.
Actually, you know what? This is actually funny. Can I keep those? Because what happens is you do this, and then you suck so bad that it's funny. Like, you make this guy weep with laughter, and he just like puts his flippers up. He's like, stop, I can't take it anymore. I'll do whatever you want, just stop. And then he's like, I was gonna do this anyway, sweetest, but my goodness, you do need the help. Hang on, sweetie, I've got something for you. Where did I put that thing? And he's rummaging in every drawer in this place. It's like it's really like a mess, actually.
Out of 2.
Oh boy. And yeah, no, but you've given him a really good life. And he reaches into one of these drawers and he brings out something. It's small and it's triangular. It's kind of a little bit glowy. And he hands it to you, and Larry, you know immediately that this is a guitar pick. This is the pick of destiny. And if anybody gets that reference, I'll be very pleased. Okay, so you now have, Larry, the pick of destiny, which adds a +4 to performance once per long rest. Because I figured that you would probably need something for your performance, considering you have a +0 in it.
Yeah, that would be a big help.
Yep. Anyway, but it's once per long rest, so use it rightly. And he says, all right, okay, you got me. Just don't tell him that I helped you, okay? You just say it was the little guys. You know, they're cute. He'll allow that. I don't know if his pride would suffer the indignity of me, glorious moi, being so generous. I'll get my payback from what he did to me before, but, you know, a lot happened, so let's just keep this on the quiet, hon.
Shorts kid hops down from the table, runs over to the door to the office, tosses it open, and says, "He's in!"
And there is an enormous cheer. There's like a sort of, "Ah!" Like there's party poppers going off and balloons from somewhere. Someone got balloons. Anyway, that's great. And this is fantastic because, especially with like, yeah, that amazingly bad roll actually did the best thing it possibly could. So yeah, you have got really good, thanks to Snalian's amazing technical abilities. You've got really good cameras. You've got more sound equipment now, thanks to the Dodo Studios being so generous. You have extra hands to help on set and be background characters, and the script is finished. So here we go. We are making a movie. The engineer is so happy. He's so proud of you. But, like, there's no time. You just gotta get on with the show because, like, 50 gold coins ain't gonna go far, and even Dodo Studios isn't looking too good on the financial front considering the beating that they've taken. So, yeah, what we have to do is Shorts Kid and Larry, I would like you both to roll performance or acrobatics. This is rehearsals, so this isn't actually, like, filming yet. Because one of you is playing, you know, a protagonist, and one of you is playing the goofy bad cop, who is not actually too bad of a guy, but you get lots of stunts.
I am rolling acrobatics because I
I
get a +6, and goddamn if I'm not gonna use it.
Suspected that
Same.
both of you would take that.
Yeah.
Oh!
Hey,
Oh!
Now I get my nat 20.
Nice.
Dirty 20!
Oh my goodness, you are incredible. Like, yeah, you just absolutely nailed this from day one. You were born to do this. And the engineer remembers, Larry, your amazing performance on that final day, even though it was a disaster. He won't forget a good actor, and he knew immediately that you were a good pick for this. But he had no idea how good you were at stunts, like, because he never saw you fight. He didn't know that you could do this. So he's so excited, and yeah, he wishes wholeheartedly that he had the ability to sign you up for like another 4 movies, but he can't like do contracts at the moment. You do, however, get a business card, so you have that as like proof of your connection, and you can get in touch with him anytime. And like if he ever makes a future movie, you will definitely be allowed to. Shorts kid, he's just so proud. He is the proudest father. He is like, he keeps having to walk out of range of the cameras because he's glowing too much. It's like throwing the lighting balance out. It's it's almost a problem. So yeah, that's great. We don't have to do anything else with you. Snallian and Charlie, I think this is going to be again a straight intelligence role because you both have to learn to use the camera and audio equipment. And Charlie, you're going to have a conversation with the engineer in a minute, but he is basically not at all going to make you be on camera at any point. He learned his lesson there.
Okay, yeah. Charlie has absolutely no advantages to intelligence, so that's an 18!
Yeah!
Charlie's luck holds out.
Oh,
A
15.
15. It's okay.
That's okay.
She did really good on building the thing. She's still learning the whole using it.
Yeah, and that like honestly that works because you're a snail. You're really small, so it's kind of tough. And in fact, like basically, again, a lot of this is rehearsal. Like some of these clips are good enough with those acrobatic rolls to like be edited into the film, so like none of this is getting thrown away. But yeah, Snallian, you get a little bit of coaching from the engineer. So the next time you make a roll with this sort of camera equipment, which you may need to in the short future, you will get advantage because you had extra coaching. But yeah, Charlie, you just nailed it. You were really good, and yeah, you all film the first scene. And you've never seen the engineer work before, but here you get to see the economical genius of this thrifty director here, as the whole operation of the opening shot is done in close-up to give the impression of a train arriving at a station, but you don't actually see the train. The shot is focused on the ground, where there's some rails showing, and you see the shadows of a freight train rolling and then coming to a stop. And this is where your audio equipment comes in really good, because the Foley is what sells this shot, because it feels and it sounds like there is a train, when there is nothing but large cardboard cutouts being passed along it. And after this comes to a stop and there's a big of steam, we see the feet of the engineer landing in the rubble, followed by a pan upwards as he's brushing himself off to show the ragged details of his clothing, with the shot ending at the very top of his head, just the iconic hat and his ears framing the bottom of the screen. And yeah, this is like the director in the film making a statement of where he is as a person. So like artistically, this film is a statement for a lot of reasons. And Charlie and Larry, you help sell the illusion of this train by hitting the ground with mallets, I imagine, because we need to have those stones vibrating. And yes, we get the impression that the train has set off again, and the camera cuts back to a very wide view with this tiny figure who's almost lost in the background of this great city. A very unfamiliar landscape for this man and his movies. It is not a Western film. Immediately from the off, he's making that statement. And, it very much describes the alienation of this character and, of course, the artist at this point of history. The movie proceeds to show the tramp, who has clearly hopped off the exterior of this unseen train after riding it for free, and he goes to the Lost and Found room, and the camera lingers on the Lost and Found sign, because that is the title of the movie. What could be better? And he meets Larry, the policeman, who's on duty in the Lost and Found room, and there's a comic scene where the engineer bluffs his way into claiming ownership of a large trunk which clearly isn't his, but he supposes must be valuable, so he manages to get it. There's a subsequent set of gags with this short character having to manhandle and carry this extremely heavy case. It's very Charlie Chaffinch or Buster Keaton. And it variably involves crushing him and skidding down sloped pavements, and this case almost ends up in the river. And then he's like, he's so sick of this, but he opens it. And we see the contents, which is a rather bashed about looking child. And the kid is homeless as well and is hidden in this large trunk, hoping that the owners would bring it inside their house where they could hide and maybe steal some food. And there is a very touching little scene where you can tell immediately that these two are like souls. And he says, "Cut! Brilliant! Everybody take 5. That was amazing. Oh, darling, you are a natural." And Shorts Kid, you get the biggest hug. And he's just walking around praising all of you. And he's not a bard, but because you all rolled so well and you did such a good job at any point, like for any saving throw or attack roll, you now have a free D6 that you can add. So everybody make a note of that, because you basically have bardic inspiration, because you guys did so well!
Yay!
It's very impressive. So, honestly, this is like, this is all going so well. I'm very pleased for you. But what happens now is, like, Charlie, after filming the scene successfully, the engineer pulls you to one side, and he makes sure that none of the other crew are around, and he clears his throat in a slightly awkward manner. He says, "Charlie, I just wanted to have a word with you about what happened back then." And he takes a moment to commit to the statement and to apologise. To you. To all 4 of you, but most of all to you, laddie, having been a self-directing lead actor in most of my films, as you've seen. I've been finding it a bit difficult to delegate, to trust my actors to do as pure of a job as I demand of them. After all, I have high standards and no intention of letting them slip. However, I have come to accept that some of my methods of extracting the most genuine performances from others may have been a little, extreme. Now, before I continue, I need you to understand what I do not apologise for. And that is where I am coming from as an artist. You said before that you believe all actors are liars. Do you still hold to that?
Oh, absolutely. As a self-confessed liar, absolutely.
He makes a sort of hissing sound and like shakes his head a little. It's like, well, there you see, on a fundamental philosophical level, I have to disagree. See, to me, acting, real storytelling is not lying, but truth. Art could be described as a lie employed to tell the truth, but I mean more than that. A true story, whether or not it happened in any version of reality, resonates, and he taps you in the middle of the chest. It rings out like a bell and strikes true in every soul that it touches. I'm sure you've read books or heard music or seen a work of art that has moved you in some way. That's what I'm talking about. That truth, that clarity. It's a purity. There's an honesty to it. Is what I've always sought to bring to my movies. And fine, so a movie might not be real in that it's made of shadows and lights and props and actors, but that doesn't mean it isn't true. Does that get through to you at all?
Well, it's not a black and white matter, is it? Because it's not just like, okay, yeah, something is true or something's a lie. Because then you get stuff like, lies of omission. You go, which is like technically lying, but you're not actually not telling them the truth. You're just leaving bits out. And then you have you have the whole area I tend to work in, which is telling people the truths they want to hear, but whether or not it's factually actually correct, I think the misstep we've got here is that you think lies are a bad thing.
He looks mightily puzzled at you. I cannot figure you out. Anyway, it doesn't matter. My apology still stands. I've given you my point of view. You've given me yours. It all works. Anyway, the thing is, ordinarily I put my actor through the paces to achieve that perfect resonance that I am striving for. But in your case, because none of you were actors, and I hadn't chosen any of you through an audition or the like, I went a step further, which was, I admit, a step too far. You see, that whole golden ticket business that brought you all above the Taffy train, may she rest in peace, that was nothing to do with me. That was all McCodger, and I just bent it a little towards achieving my own ends, and the same goes for all that contract nonsense. Those were set up in order to see if, well, they were set up for someone else, it doesn't matter. Tell you the truth, when I first realised you hadn't used your real name on yours, and he's laughing again, like, I couldn't have cared less. I don't care who you are or who you were. Heck, I mean, do you think I was born being called the engineer? Names are just props, that doesn't faze me. But when you came storming into the engine room looking like you were going to throw the whole movie out of joint with your wee tantrum, he throws his paws up with a shake of the head. Well, I couldn't allow that, so I improvised. I used what I had, and I used it against you, which was wrong. And for that, I do apologise. Your privacy is your own, and to make sure that it is not compromised any further, he brings something out of his pocket, and it looks like a wristwatch, and he hands it to you. I couldn't have done it without him, but when I mentioned how I wanted to make things right, Professor Woodley gave me a hand with making this, and he never really got to speak with you after all, so he wanted to contribute. And you have a wristwatch now. It's a plain gold wristwatch with a blue leather strap. If you look closely at the watch, however, while it does tell the time, it also has 4 different colours listed in place of the 4 main numbers, and they are calico, black, white, and ginger. And the engineer taps the dial. You turn the winding mechanism on the side so as the minute hand points to one of these colours, then you press it twice. Give it a go.
Charlie immediately changes it to ginger.
And lo and behold, you are Charlie the ginger cat. He says, hey, there you are. You put it on and you'll wind up being a cat of a different colour. You wear that while we're filming, and that way if you do somehow end up on screen, your own reflection wouldn't recognise you.
I gotta give Charlie's reactions to all of that stuff, because like throughout all of that he was definitely listening. He had a pretty unimpressed look on his face through a lot of it. He was really listening, but it's like this was obviously a bit of a pre-rehearsed speech for the engineer, and better to kind of just, while he would like to make little interjections and everything, is like, no, this is the engineer trying to say a thing. Okay, Charlie will shut up and listen. And he was, at the end of it, he probably was going to say some stuff about like, okay, yeah, thanks for the apology. Still not massively impressed with what happened, but also he knows that sometimes when there was a plan in place, sometimes stuff goes on. It's like he had all this sort of stuff in mind, but then there was the watch, and then he could be ginger, so he's just gonna like spend the rest of the day like flipping through all the colors, and you're gonna start thinking that there are just like 4 separate cats on the set as well as like anyone else, because you have no idea which one Charlie is at this point in time, because he's just like changing it every minute.
And if, Charlie, bless your soul, you hadn't made an insight roll, you'd probably realise that this pre-prepared speech and then the immediate carrot given as a reward for all the stick you had before was definitely done on purpose, because he knew you would immediately be distracted by it. So,
way too easily distracted with shiny or cool things.
Oh, he's not a wily granddad for nothing. Anyway, yeah, filming continues. Everything is great. I'm just going to do one little extra thing, and then we'll like have a 5-minute break and talk about if we want to continue or do this in the next session. But the last thing that really needs to be done is promotion, because you need people to know that this movie exists. You need people to show this movie when it exists. So you will need to make posters, props, and leak information about what is going on. And you can now roll whatever you like. This is all 4 of you. You can roll performance or persuasion. Like, if you make an argument for it, I'll allow it. And yeah, this is to see how well your promotion goes.
I'm gonna roll Arcana.
Yeah? Sure. What's the reason? You do have to give a reason.
spacebars still aren't working quite correctly, but Shorts Kid feels like if they really concentrate, maybe they can transport these posters through time and space so that when someone really needs to see this film in the future, just like by sheer coincidence of the universe meshing gears or whatever, actually a child trying to teleport paper, they'll see this and be like, oh my gosh, it's like destiny. Like, have you ever seen in a movie where like a poster or something comes fluttering down on the breeze and then smacks the character in the face, and then they're like, oh boy, that's so relevant to what I need.
That's perfect. I will 100% allow this. And yeah, how about the rest of you? Snailian, how are you promoting the movie?
Damn it.
Oh, that's an 11. Some of the pieces of paper hit their target, some of them just end up going down the gutter, so like there's a bit of a financial loss there, I think is how this works.
I think what Snailian is going to do is I think they're going to roll persuasion, and they're going to actually try to leak the information to the press.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna try, and they know right now with the way everything is, doing this is playing with fire. So they're gonna like go through. They go back to the library and they look through, and they like find a reporter, and they actually find one of the reporters who had reported incorrectly before, because it seems like they would immediately post whatever they hear. So they leak just a little bit, just a hair. They don't leak where it's happening. They don't leak how it's happening. They just leak a little bit and add the fact that the engineer is involved for that juicy detail that will like make the reporter just like latch onto it and just start blasting it instead of blasting the engineer for their so-called crimes. Now there's this interesting new facet. Apparently he's part of a movie. What is this?
Yeah. Also, interestingly, like the whole tirade that's been happening against the engineer has lost a little steam. You're not quite sure if a certain person is running out of spell slots or the press are just bored of this angle. So yeah, this new angle is definitely going to be of interest. Please roll persuasion. 25! Holy cow!
25.
Yeah, it's a big sensation, especially because you didn't like give out too much information. It's like a tasty, tantalizing. What is going on? There's enough room for speculation. Everybody is talking about this movie, and now you almost have a problem because you have like voyeuristic crowds who want to watch the movie. However, you also now have more background actors because you know you succeeded so well in that persuasion roll.
If there's a bunch of crowds, I know exactly what Charlie is going to want to do.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, he's going to use sleight of hand to do a bit of put pocketing, in which like little bits, he's got to try and get his hands on like a bunch of like little, like business card size pieces of paper that just do 10% off like any tickets for the film. And then like he'll go over, like tell the engineer to kind of like price it up 10%, like make charge up. But specifically,
he's slightly changing your mind on whether you would make a good producer or not. Now, I mean that's okay. Please roll sleight of hand.
Yeah. Okay.
No, sorry, you were going to say something. I talked over you.
Yeah, no. Charlie knows how like money stuff works. He knows how people think. He's just also very distractible. But yeah, that's also a 26.
Whoa!
So...
Yeah, they love this, and also like people realize this is like a magic trick in itself. That like someone has gone around doing this. They love that shit. Yeah, they are eating out of your hand. And finally, Larry, how do you handle this?
Well, Larry isn't good at talking to people. He does know people like to be engaged in something on their own terms. So what he's going to do is make a puzzle out of it. He is going to design an ARG in terms of marketing, where it's just like there are things around the city that like people who are looking can put together and try and figure out stuff about what's going on in this movie, and like people getting engaged on their own terms.
That's genius.
He thinks that would be the best in terms of you know, letting the hype build amongst people.
I tell you what, you know who loves setting up like puzzles and shit? All of the birds from Dodo Studios love that. So, like, not only will the engineer definitely give you a hand, but all of the penguins, all of the owls, and, you know, you might even catch someone in a very unconvincing disguise kit who definitely is DJ Moose, like, lending a hand, because that's the coolest thing ever, man! You get advantage.
Hey, cool.
And I guess that would be performance, I guess? I'm not sure.
Or use the thing for this.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, that's already pretty freaking good.
I mean, yeah, 23.
Yeah,
23
is plenty.
That's absolutely solid. The city is just almost paralyzed with excitement because of everything that's going on. Like, you hit them once with the newspaper, you hit them twice with the pickpocketing in reverse. This! Holy cow! Like, people are absolutely just in a spin about this. You couldn't have done a better job. And, yeah, I don't know what else to say. You completely solved my publicizing puzzle. And the film is going great. You've nearly got all the scenes. You're actually doing like all the scenes chronologically from front to back. And the engineer is doing this as an old movie technique in case something goes wrong and you have to edit like on the fly. You have to come up with scenes like changed because of what happens on set. Because while your promotion is outstanding, this is the biggest movie event of the year and it hasn't even been filmed yet. He's aware that you still only have this 50 gold and whatever the Dodo Studios has scrapped together, which is running out incredibly fast. So, yeah, we find you filming, after having filmed the bulk of the picture, this is a big scene. This is, like, not quite the final scene, but it's, like, it's the low point of the third act. And after filming the bulk of the picture, you set up to film a key scene on the self-same bridge that this whole story began on. This is the iconic bridge across the wide and currently very frozen over Mississippi River. And this scene is a real heartbreaker, and it's where the vagrant engineer has to act really mean. And this is to get the kid to leave him, and he's trying to, like, as it were, claim that he has just been using this kid in order to get jobs and to get money. In reality, what he's doing is trying to persuade the kid to go with the nice straight man policeman and the nice half-elf lady from an orphanage to find a suitable, safe home rather than the one they have living on the streets, because he's finally come to realise, like, he can't look after this kid. And, yeah, so, you know what, I think your performance rolls before Larry and Short's Kid was so good that I'm not going to make you roll again, especially with all this promotion. You are completely in this moment. And, I would like to ask, like, emotionally how this affects you, because this is, like, a real emotional scene. Larry, I think we will start with you, because you have to be, as it were, the bad guy, but you're also getting a little bit of a redemption scene here, because you're proven to be trying to do the right thing for this child.
First off, Larry has been very uncomfortable in the role of a cop. He does not enjoy that very much.
Sorry, Larry. Sorry.
Yeah, you know, by nature, he is not an especially emotive person. So the fact that he has done as good a job as he has is kind of a miracle. And yeah, he recognizes that this is more about the engineer and Short's Kid than him. All he's really interested in is playing a good supporting role for whatever vicarious closure the two of them can get.
Okay, and Short's Kid, how are you feeling? Your train dad, even though you have been fully briefed, is having to reject you.
Shorts Kid is repressing the hell out of this.
No!
Like, they're acting right now. Keyword, they're acting.
Mhm.
In that they're being like, oh, woe is me. I'm being abandoned by the one, like, person who has shown genuine, like, care and interest in me without stabbing me. But, like, internally, they're just ignoring the hell out of that. So, like, externally, they're like, it's the big scene, and, no, just go, just go. And then, Shorts Kid is like, no, I won't go because I love you. And then there's the big, like, climactic hug on the thing. And, I don't know, probably a train horn. I don't know. There's got to be more train stuff in here. And then after eventually they're like, all right, cut. That was a pretty good take. Nice job. Shorts Kid is then just like, all right, yeah, we're done. We never have to do that again.
Hate to tell you this, kid, but the scene is ongoing. This is a long take. Also, Charlie and Snallian, you are presently filming this, and isn't it delightful when everybody knows that you're making a film, because you get friends coming out of the woodwork, and there's this group of witches who are really helpful. They've flown all the way over from UPA, and you actually have now got, as it were, free cranes, because you have got these flying broomsticks on loan. What I need Snallian and Charlie to roll real quick is like a dex roll, I think, because you have to get used to using these brooms, which have been mounted up with 2 of these cameras.
Okay.
This is to see how badly or not this goes. 20, very
so that's
good.
a 20 from Charlie. He's absolutely like borrowed, like heavy layering on the like quotation marks there, one of the broomsticks, and has just kind of gone nuts on it whenever there's no filming. He's having a great time.
You are a cat. I mean, what cat wouldn't be at home on a witch's broom? How about you, Snallian? How are you doing with this old-fashioned way of flying?
I think one thing Snallian does is absolutely every witch that gets pulled into this, they get a silent image, hello, because I refuse to give up that gag. It's too good.
Of course.
But I think what they also do is they do kind of talk to the witches about how does this work? How does it work if you're small? Like, how does this work if you're really, really small? And like, they sort of, as Charlie's just practicing, they're like trying to get the frame of reference for everything before they start trying it.
You could, I think with that argument, you could roll intelligence if you like try and do this as a technical exercise.
Let's see. I'm going to take that.
Yeah, let's do that, because that 6 ain't doing it. Another 6! This broom does not like you, Snallian. Okay, this is hilarious. Okay, fortunately, you like have a small amount of time to practice before using this, because it's a key scene. Basically, what happens is the broomstick-mounted camera is given to someone else, and you end up manning the camera that's on a tripod on the bridge. So, that's fine. And you're like right up in everybody's faces, like doing the close-up shots for this really emotional scene. Like you're probably having to check back the tears. And it's really sad. And the scene is meant to end with the engineer having succeeded in like pushing the kid away into the nice lady's arms, and the policeman they're just walking off. And he's succeeded in this terrible task, and he's leaning heavily against the bridge while the camera slowly tracks out in a wide, lonely shot before the cop, who is moved by understanding what the tramp's real motivation was, he reappears and offers him a job, not necessarily on the police, but like a job that is like his last chance, which would allow him to be financially stable enough to look after the kid, which would be the next scene. However, when the engineer leans on this metal barrier of the bridge, there is a short but sickening metallic sound, and it breaks. There's a momentary frozen in midair opaque gag as his arms windmill before gravity resumes, and the last thing you hear as the director plummets down towards the ice back first is a command to keep rolling before he smashes back first through the frozen surface and down into the sub-zero waters beneath. Before anything else can happen, the half-elf lady from the orphanage hugs Short's kid very close as if to save them from the distress of watching their adoptive father drown in the icy waters. But as she gently closes a delicate hand over Short's kid's head and mouth, the woman whispers into their ear, "No more happy endings." And it is Dora in a disguise kit. And at this point, we're going to take a break. And the thing is, this is where the choice happens, because we are going to roll initiative, and that will be great. However, looking at the time, it's nearly been 2 hours. How are we all feeling? Do we want to wrap this up here today and continue it tomorrow? Like, start the fight, just do a whole episode that's just this combat tomorrow? Or do you want to keep going? Like, now, today?
I'm okay
Personally, I want to keep going.
I think the question is, how does Maud feel?
Because I mean, it is still morning for me. I could keep going. For you, it's evening. How are you doing?
I'm actually okay.
Yeah.
I have a steady supply of sugar with me and water. I mean, I will take the 5-minute break to reset my spine, because apparently that's an issue after sitting still for like 2 hours. I think the game maker is going to be Kai. Are you okay to do this?
Yeah, I'm okay to keep going. It kind of depends. How long do you think the fight is going to go for?
Well, that's where I don't know, because obviously I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very up in the air. Like I said, like, no pressure either way. We can stop here and resume tomorrow. I would be fine with that.
Now let's keep going if everyone else is up
Are
for
you
it.
absolutely sure? Like,
We don't want to push you, Kai.
Yeah.
If you're tired, we can tap out. We have the plan to do it tomorrow.
that's exactly why I set it up. So literally, I have no opinion on this.
No, I as I said before, like I'm entirely fine either way. And if more people are voting yes, let's do it, then yes, let's do it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna have a 5-minute break anyway. Take your time to decide. If you guys can roll persuasion to make Kai change their mind, that's fine. But like, honestly, it's entirely up to you. So yeah, I'll see you in 5 minutes. Bye.
Do you want to make it a 10-minute break just so that it's like straight on the hour when we resume, or convince Kai that we don't have to resume?
That's up to you guys. I mean, yeah, I'll be back here in 5 minutes to listen into what's happening or not, as the case may be. Okay.
I'm gonna real quick do the same, but
Yeah, like
Kai,
anyone that needs snacks and anything,
Yeah,
go
everybody
ahead.
run, get a drink, get some food, scream out of the window for a bit, do whatever makes you feel good. Okay, bye.
I like how I was like, who the hell is this elf lady that is here? Oh, of course.
I'm so angry.
This is
Maud,
gonna
I
be
love
great.
you, but I'm so angry.
I was very much hoping that, it was Dora, because god dang, do I want to stab someone today. It just becomes a meme that every single character I play who has magic gets ice knife.
God, ice knife. It's such a brutal spell.
It is. So I'm just like, everybody gets an ice knife. I think the fact that it explodes afterward is the thing that makes it brutal.
Super, super rough. Oh,
Baby.
hey, Sel.
Sel doing the Lord's work here. Ugh.
Hugs.
And then we get to punch Dora, the dumb person.
Time to kick a butt.
Yeah, we get to kick many butt. Or at least we get to kick one butt several times.
Well, the issue is, do we go after Engie or do we go after her? That is the struggle.
Oh, goddamn, oh, yeah. But wait, Engie is, Bernie Fireman. Bernie Fireman fall in cold water, make water not cold.
Yeah, true.
Sorry, I'm just trying to consider every avenue of
I mean,
What?
that's the thing. It is this Pokemon rules where he's strong against the ice but weak against the water.
Oh, you're gonna find
Oh,
out.
that is suck.
I will point out that the engineer has been swimming in an ocean before, and that was not a problem. However, there is a problem, so you'll figure it out.
Sel, your art is always so fucking gorgeous. I love it so much.
Oh, that's right. I can go back into the chat and have a look at what's been going on.
Chat,
Did
go
some
nuts.
good art.
Oh my gosh! Oh no, that's so cute. Oh, I'm gonna die of
Little
happiness.
hat. The little hat's gonna kill me.
Oh my god, the posing one is really funny. Oh, everything is soft and nice, and oh, you are just Cell. I don't deserve you. God, do you all know that I'm like Celebi9's biggest fan? Like anybody listening to this on Tumblr, whatever, like follow this artist. They draw the softest, saddest things. That's so good. Oh.
Ella's the reason Charlie has become increasingly fluffy.
Like, even if you don't follow Cell on Tumblr, make a Tumblr and follow Cell.
Yeah, that's exactly what you should do. Tumblr was made for following this artist.
I don't know how you got here if you don't have a Tumblr, but like,
That's true.
nice to see you. What's up?
I suppose I do.
The
post things about
destiny
this
has
on
thrown you
Twitter.
towards us.
Yeah. Anyway, have we come any further on the discussion of if we're playing the rest today or not?
Check the player discussion chat room.
Oh, yes, that's fair. That's fair.
Wait,
Yeah,
we're supposed to be
let's-
talking there? Yeah, I have no eyeballs.
I think we should leave it to tomorrow.
It's completely up to you guys, really.
I think, like, the thing is, like, this has ended at a really good point, and I don't want us all to, like, continue and then regret it because we're running out of energy. Whereas, like, if we do it tomorrow, then we'll all be, like, hype times 2.
That is true.
Yeah? I think we could, like, have a really satisfying, meaty episode on both days if we split it up. And, you know, if you're all okay doing this again tomorrow, like, I think, like, I don't have a preference, but if I did, it would probably be to break it up, let's be honest.
Alright, works for me.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Because,
I'm like, I really want to play the rest of the game because I'm impatient as hell. But like, I can wait. I
guess,
can't do math. I can wait however many more hours there is until tomorrow.
yeah. The advantage to this is that we can roll initiative and do that all off the audio and, like, sort that out. Unfortunately, I will have to start the fight off with a sneak attack surprise round from Dora because she got there first. Also, it's worth noting that she did this very quietly. So, like, part of the first round is going to be you guys trying to figure out what's going on and if you notice Dora at all. So that's going to be fun to deal with. But I can also give you a map and, like, doodle where you are on it. I have a map, but, like, you know, I can actually, like, add some details to it because now I know what the camera situation was because that was important. That whole deal with the brooms wasn't just for comedy. So, oh my god, the googly eye sketch of the... Oh my god, you're all so wonderful. Okay, I'm going to stop...
Like,
I'm gonna stop recording because I'll basically edit it to be stopped when we were like, are we gonna continue or not? And, like, skip all of
this
this
is
stuff.
so intense.